Hello everyone, so it's been a while since I uploaded a cake tutorial to my channel, and today I'm going to show you guys how I put together this beautiful glow-in-the-dark cake. This cake is not covered in fondant, it's ganache, and only the mushrooms are made out of fondant. If you guys are interested in nature themed cakes, I have a couple of videos on my channel that you guys could go watch, but I will link one specific one. It's the 3D willow cake that I want you guys to go watch at the end of this video in my end cards. I'm starting off with my practice board. I like to cover my practice board with clear contact paper, and I also like to use foil tape to secure the metal rod to cover it around so it's food safe. Now that I have covered my board with the contact paper, I'm going to put the metal rod right in the middle where I made the hole, and I'm going to secure it to my board. Once I have covered the metal rod a couple of times with the foil tape, I like to put two bubble straws on top of this, but I didn't have any. And the reason I would do that is just to make sure, for example, if I was making this for somebody or giving it away, if whoever cut it went in too deep into the cake, if we could run the risk of somebody getting pieces of foil paper on their plate, and we do not want that. I'm going to be using my dense vanilla cake recipe, which I have already shared how to make it, but I will list it in the description box so you guys could go and watch that tutorial. I used this set of circle cutters. I used the three biggest ones in the set, which is a 4-inch, a 3-inch, and a 2-inch to construct the cake. This is going to be a very small cake. It's only for the purposes of making a tutorial and because I had this idea in my head that I needed to take out. So once I get an idea, I have to do it, and because it just does not let me sleep, I cannot function without, making it come to life. I'm using Swiss meringue buttercream to layer the cake, and what I'm basically doing with this cake is overlapping the cake layers, basically not putting them straight one on top of each other as I would normally do to make a straight cake. I'm leaving like little gaps in between each layer that I put, and that way I'm creating a natural curve so I will not have to carve any of this cake at all. Here you can see what I'm talking about. I didn't have to carve this cake at all. I just overlapped and it gave me a natural shape. Here I'm separating some of my ganache just to make sure that when I'm doing the crumb coat, I don't get any of those cake crumbs into all my ganache. I've covered my cake in its first crumb coat, and I wanted to make some roots for the bottom of the cake, so I'm using some leftover cake and the rest of the ganache that I had for the crumb coat, and I'm making some cake pop dough. Now with the K-pop dough ready, I'm just molding it to the bottom of the cake. And here there's really no wrong or right way to do it. Is however you want to make the roots look. So you can make them thick, you can make them thin, you can make them overlapping each other. No tree is ever exactly alike, so there's no way of getting this wrong. Once I was done messing around with the roots and then I liked how they looked, I gave my cake another coat of ganache and I put it in the refrigerator to set. To make my mushrooms glow, I use this petal dust. I bought it on Amazon. It's from the brand Also Sweets. It comes in a pack of 8 and it was under $18. Now, the color blue and purple did not work no matter what I did. And you do need to use a black light for the colors to glow. The red and the pink were very similar to each other, but the colors are very vibrant. So that was the plus. Uh, I'm using regular fondant and I'm adding a little bit of Tylose powder so my fondant hardens up really fast. And I'm going to show you guys how to make this little cluster of pink oyster mushrooms. So I'm working some of the petal dust into the fondant, not mixing it all the way through so I get like little streaks. When I flash the black light, you will see little streaks of the petal dust in between the fondant. To make these mushrooms, I'm making a teardrop shape and then pressing it down, flattening it down to look like a petal. And then with my cutting tool, I'm scoring some lines into the fondant, trying not to go all the way through. And these are makes it look like the gills of a mushroom. And these are pink oyster mushrooms, and I really don't think they're bioluminescent in real life, but I really like these, so I went with it. And I'm making different sizes, some bigger than others, and just clustering them together, adding paper towels in between them and folding the tops so they stay that way once they dry. For a lot of the mushrooms, I did this shape. Basically, it's just a little ball which I stretched out with the ends of my fingers and made a little dome. And for the stem, I made a long cone shape and then just set it aside to dry before I put them together. I also did some other ones almost the same shape, but with the back of a brush, I pointed the tip and I let them dry. I made these in the coordinating colors that I was going to use. And here I'm making another type of mushroom. I have no idea how to pronounce this mushroom, but it's so pretty. And basically what is just a circle that I frailed up on the sides to form like this rosette shape, I guess. I don't even know how to call it, but in real life it's beautiful. And I'm very intrigued by it, but I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm also making this type of mushroom using the end of my brush to point it up and make it like a cone shape. And for the little stems, I'm curving them up. These are going to be attached to the tree. By the way, if you guys do not enjoy fondant, I have another option on how to make mushrooms with chocolate. It's also in my 3D willow cake, which I will list at the end of this video, so you guys go ahead and go watch that as well. Here you guys can see how pretty and vibrant the colors are under the black light. I'm finally giving the cake its final coat, and with a piece of plastic I'm smoothing out the cake, but I'm not smoothing it all the way. I want to leave strips here and there and little bumps, and it makes it look more natural. The mushrooms are finally dry. I'm going to use white chocolate or white candy melts to put them together to put the little stems with the tops. And it just makes it so much easier. It's dry like in minutes with no hassle. So now that I have attached all my stems to the tops of my mushrooms, I'm using the coordinating colors along with some sparkle orange dust and a little bit of brown to make the mushrooms look a little bit more interesting and give them more color. For the other mushrooms, I did the same thing. I used the coordinating colors, dusting them with the neon and the glitter dust, and they came out looking very pretty. I wanted to make different types of edible moss to decorate the cake. Here I'm using um, egg whites, I'm using regular granulated sugar, some honey, some baking soda, and some flour, and I'm mixing it all together, incorporating the batter, and then adding different shades of green to this mixture, and then baking them in the microwave. As you guys can see right here, I'm making different shades. It only took a minute and a half to cook this bit of cake, and this is how it turned out. For the rest of whatever I had in the bowl, I added some of the neon petal dust to make this glow in the dark. And I placed it in these little tiny cups, and it only took 20 seconds for each one of these to cook in the microwave. I will list the ingredients in the description box for this recipe. Whenever I make these type of cakes, I always like to have different textures and colors of edible moss. So here I'm using some graham cracker crumbs and I'm mixing some food dye into it. I also made this in different colors and two different shades. As you guys can see right here, the different colors. And now these little cups, this is the one that I added the neon glow in the dark, and it came out beautiful. It cooked in 20 seconds in the microwave, and it's nice and fluffy and pretty and vibrant, and it does glow under the black light. This is my other one. It's already nice and cool, and I really didn't like the colors on this one, but when I mix them all together, they look so nice together. They look so pretty. Here I'm going to show you guys how I added texture to this cake. This cake is very firm. It's been sitting in the refrigerator overnight, so it's nice and hard, and that allowed me to use the balling tool without messing the cake. I made a couple of indents here and there for the notes of the tree, and lines all over, as well as poking small little holes to add more definition and more texture. Now, have you guys ever seen a tree stump with white stuff growing on it? It looks kind of like mold or kind of white grayish color. Well, that's what I was trying to do here. So I'm adding some clear vanilla extract and some white food gel along with the fan brush, and I'm just brushing this in onto the cake. I wasn't liking this part right here, so I just cleaned it up with a napkin. And since the cake was so chilled and it was nice and hard still, it didn't affect it, and I just went over it with the tool again and did a couple of lines. Finally, for the last part here, I have some cookie crumbs. I have some cereal, which I'm also going to be using, and all my edible moss. I have all my mushrooms ready, and now I'm going to assemble. I cover my board in ganache, and it's gonna help my mushrooms and all the different type of edible moss that I made to stick to the board. I'm going through my board, placing mushrooms, taking turns, putting edible moss here and there, different colors, adding some cookie crumbs, adding the cereal, like crushed up cereal as well. And the inspiration for this cake is obviously the bioluminescent mushrooms. I'm so fascinated by them. There's so many different types of mushrooms with so many colors, and some that look so freaky and some that are just beautiful that you don't even think they're mushrooms. So I'm just really fascinated by them. Now I will let you guys enjoy the rest of the assembling of this cake, as I feel that I do not need to explain this part. It's very self-explanatory since I'm just placing the mushrooms on the cake. And let me know which part of this cake was your favorite part. And don't forget to go and check out my 3D willow cake that I will be placing at the end of this video.